Baruch Hashem, yesterday we started the sugya of Ben Adam Lechaveroi. I'm very, very excited about this sugya because it is a sugya that talks to all of us and hopefully it's something that all of us can work on. Be'ezus Hashem. Yesterday we mentioned a little bit of an introduction for those that were not with us, just to understand the introduction. What we mentioned yesterday was the principle of Ben Adam Lechaveroi, of what Hillel told this guy that came into the Beis Medrash and wanted to learn the whole Torah, and he said a very simple line, and that was, that which you do not like, don't do to others. That is the whole Torah, and everything else go and learn. So we basically understood that the master key to all of Torah is that, and therefore that is the Pesach, that is the entrance way to get to everything. Okay? So we also explained yesterday that we are living in a world, and the Rabbeinu Shalom specifically set it up this way, that we're living in a world where we live with others. We interact with others. We have a relationship with others, whether it's our family members, whether it's our friends, whether it's our work people, all irrelevant. Doesn't make a difference. Obviously, there's different levels of relationships, but we live in a world that the Rabbeinu Shalom put us where we have other people and we have to interact. And therefore, there are so many times that we get to situations where we often make the wrong decision. We can hurt someone, we can hurt ourselves, we could do a lot of damage. And therefore, what we're going to do, Be'ez Hashem, in the next few weeks over here in these sessions, is to work on Ben Adam Lechaveroi and try each day and each week to work on specific things that are negeh to Ben Adam Lechaveroi. As I've mentioned to you many times, there is no place that you can find this in Shulchan Aruch or even in the Gemara. There's no. If you want to learn Hilchos Shabbos, you open up a Shulchan Aruch. If you want to learn Hilchos Yeridea, if you want to learn Shmiras Haloshen, that's what the Chofetz Chaim did. He took everything and put it together. But there is no one place that you can learn Hilchos Ben Adam Lechaveroi. There are Sforim out there, Baruch Hashem, that are telling us the halachos of Ben Adam Lechaveroi and helping us. But there's nothing specific in one place in Shulchan Aruch or in the Gemara that will tell us about Ben Adam Lechaveroi. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and sort of bring together so much of Chazal and Halacha into these shiurim, so make sure that we try and gain the most. And as I said yesterday, I beg of every single one of you, not only to attend, but also to listen and try to implement this in your life. Because if we do this, and if we work on this, and if we think of the things that we discussed and shared throughout the day, not only during shared time, and forget about it afterwards, then we can actually change the way we act and react to others. So I want to start today, as I mentioned yesterday, with the idea of Don Nekavschos. And I'll tell you why I'm starting specifically with this idea, even though there are many things to discuss and many yesodis to go through. Why are we going through the idea of Don Lekaf Schos first? It's definitely, there's no question that many of the ideas, and the Shla Kodesh brings this as well, the ideas of Ben Adam Lechaveroi can only be kept, and we'll go through them one by one, if the fundamentals are in place. And one of the fundamentals of Ben Adam Lechaveroi, in other words, the foundation. When you're building a building, you don't just build up. You start digging down into the foundations, and the lower the foundations, the stronger the foundations, then the higher and heavier building you can build. So what we're going to work now is on some of the foundations of Ben Adam Lechaveroi, and that is very much B'tzedek Tishbot Amisecha, the idea of judging other people favorably. And the obvious idea to understand this is, how do you expect to understand somebody else if you make such a quick assessment of their actions and jump to conclusions about what they do? Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Okay, if a person has bad feelings against somebody else, okay, he judges somebody else in a negative, in a bad way. So what's going to happen is, after that judgment, the following. Okay, this is why this is number one on the list. And you'll see, you're going to agree with me after I tell you what comes after judging someone not favorably. When you judge someone in a negative way, what's going to happen is, you're going to start to hate him. You're not going to like him, that's v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. You're not going to do chesed to him, which means you're going to mitzvah of chesed. You may come to do revenge, like sokum, and bear a grudge, like sita. You may come to fight, like tiek kerch v'adasai. You may come to speak lashon hora and rechilas, which the Chofetz Chaim countless love him and isurim that person's over him. A person may talk hurtful words, which is a nurse to him. A person may embarrass other people. A person may even come to steal and not pay workers on time. So many things could come out from just one thing. and that is not judging someone other favorably. And everything we just mentioned could have been avoided if a person judged someone else's favorably. Now, it takes work. What I'm saying is not something that's going to be easy. It's not something you could just, change your mindset and off you go. It takes work, it takes effort. But before the work has to come the realization. And that's what we're doing over here. Okay? You with me? Okay. So, I want to tell you a gewaldige thing which I saw, why I'm starting with this, is Rabbi Reisman Shlita once said over in the name of Rav Pam. And he said in the name of this, he said, what happens if a person wants to treat the symptoms of Lashon Hara? What should he do? He should learn Sefer Shmiras HaLashon of the Chofetz Chaim. If he wants to treat the symptoms of Lashon Hara, he should learn the Sefer that the Chofetz Chaim wrote so beautifully about Shmiras HaLashon. But if a person wants to treat the actual sickness of Lashon Hara, learn to be done lekaf schus. And he brings a mashal. If a person has, for example, strep, let's say a person has strep, and it's painful, it's hard for him, whatever it is. So he wants to treat the symptoms. What does he do? In order to treat the symptoms, he takes some medication, takes some whatever it is, any medication that you have, yeah? And you can take vitamins, you can take painkillers, whatever it may be, in order to, why? Treat the symptoms. And therefore he'll be able to go on with life, he'll be able to have a good day. Why? Because the pain isn't there. But that's to treat the symptoms. If you want to actually treat the illness and take the illness away, then painkillers are not going to help you. What's going to help is sometimes you need antibiotics. Antibiotics is actually going to work on the illness itself. And it's the same thing with Lashon Hara. Lashon Hara is something that we have to discuss, one of the worst aveiros that a person could possibly do. Now again, if you want to treat the symptoms of Lashon Hara, learn Shmiras HaLashon. But if you want to go deep into why a person to begin with speaks Lashon Hara, then go here. Don lekaf schus. When a person learns to be don lekaf schus, when he learns to judge other people favorably, there'll be nothing to say negative about anyone. There's nothing to think negatively about anyone. Can you imagine what the world would look like if every single one of us would work on don lekaf schus when we saw someone doing something immediately? We would be done him lekaf schus, we would judge him favorably, the whole relationship would be different. This would change so much of the Ben Adam Chaver that we have. Now, let me give you some of the amazing rewards that Chazal tell us about being done lekaf schus. Okay, it's important to understand the rewards. We'll talk about the halachas as well, but let me give you some of the rewards. Okay, the Gemara in Brachas, Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph, gives us some of these incredible rewards. Listen carefully, because I don't know how many people over here know this. And it's important to understand this before we delve into the halachas of how to do it and how not to do it and what to do. Let's understand how important it is. Okay, the audience with me? Okay, listen to this. The Gemara says that there are three people that the Rebbeinu Shalom loves extra special. Obviously, Rebbeinu Shalom loves all of his children, all of his creations. But there are certain people that have that extra love. That the Rebbeinu Shalom, Chazal tell us this, right? We would never be able to say this if not for Chazal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves those people extra special. Now, there isn't a person in this room that doesn't want to be included in that category. Everyone wants to be loved by the Rebbeinu Shalom extra special. Everyone wants to have that extra special love. How do you do it? So we're not going to go through all three of them right now. But the Gemara tells us that if a person is don lekaf schus, if a person judges other people favorably, he is a person that the Rebbeinu Shalom extra love. Not only that, there's a story which the Gemara tells us, as Abba Munah was greeted from Shemayim every single day, even though there were Amoraim that only got greeted once a year. And that was why, says the Gemara, because he was done in lekaf schus. There's a certain chibah, there's a certain affection, there's a certain love that the Rebbeinu Shalom has for anyone that is done lekaf schus. Right? And it's definitely one of the most powerful ideas that a person has to realize. In fact, there's we've spoken about this, if you remember, before Rosh Hashanah. I want to mention this yesod again, because it was such a gewaldige yesod. Eli, you with me? It's very, very important. A person comes up to din after 120 years of being in this world. And the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah Tezayin Amud Beis tells us that there are three books that are open. right? The person that has more mitzvahs goes to the tzaddik book. A person that has more averas goes to the other one. And the equal, the guys in between, and the Bein in him, right? So the Rebbeinu Shalom looks at these people and says, well, we're going to wait to see where they're holding. What is the trick? What is the trick to try and get a good judgment on Rosh Hashanah and presumably the whole year as well? How do we do it? If we are done the kafskos. Why? Because if we learn to judge other people favorably, the Rebbeinu Shalom acts midah keneged midah. And if we overlook other people's shortcomings, the Rebbeinu Shalom will overlook our shortcomings. Now, I don't know about you, I speak for myself, but we're not perfect people. Many of us think we are, but we're not perfect people. And we have our shortcomings, and we have our issues, and we have our challenges. And sometimes we don't always make the right decision. Sometimes we don't do the right thing. Would you love the secret recipe of the Rebbeinu Shalom in Shemayim saying, it's fine, he didn't mean it. It's fine, it's not him. It's not really him, he's not like that. Why is Hashem going to do that to you unless you do that to other people? If you're the type of person that looks at each person and judges them, ooh, how can you do that? Ooh, how can you say that? Well, you're judging everyone? So HaKadosh Baruch is going to say, you're judging everybody else, I'm going to judge you. But if you're the type of person that learns to act in a way that says, you know what? That guy did something to me. He said something about me. He didn't mean it. He's having a hard day. It's hard for him. He's going through challenges. Who knows? We don't know what someone else is going through. None of us know. We think we know. We don't know. We do not know what's going on in people's lives. And many of us often think that we do know. I'm telling you, coming from my position, none of you know. Okay? In the line of work that I do, I get to hear a lot of things. And unfortunately, people are jealous. And I've heard this from people, right? I'll give you an example. A wild example. I'm dealing now with a situation in a marriage. It's a crazy situation. I'm trying to calm it down. I'm trying to sort it out. It's not easy. It takes up many, many hours of my life, but I have to deal with it. Now, I know for a fact that this couple who are going through a terrible time right now, posting busy on their status, pictures of all sorts of things. And people are so jealous. Like, wow, I wish I had a relationship like that. I wish I was able to do that. That's amazing. I want to do the same thing. Little do they know what's going on behind the closed doors. We don't know what's going on in someone's lives. We have zero way of judging somebody else. Right? Chazal tell us in the Mishnah Pirkei Avos, don't judge someone until you reach their place. What is Chazal telling us? What's the Mishnah Pirkei Avos telling us? Don't judge someone until you reach their place. That means when you reach their place, you can judge them. No, that means never judge them because you'll never reach their place. You don't know the challenges. You don't know what someone's going through. You don't know the upbringing. You don't know their environment. You don't know anything. So it doesn't make any sense for you to judge someone. That's number one. And number two, if you want to be the guy, and think about it, if you have ever done an Avera, if anyone in this room right now has ever in their lives, done an Avera, a small Avera, big Avera, whatever, would you like the Rebbeinu Shalom to say, it's fine, he doesn't mean it, it's not him, he wasn't feeling good, he wasn't up to it, he was going through a hard time, leave him alone. I think every guy here would love that secret to success. Chazal tell us how to do it. Chazal tell us if we learn to done other people lekaf zchus, then the Rebbeinu Shalom is done us also lekaf zchus. And that's an incredible thing which the Gemara brings us to Mefusha Gemara Shabbos Kuf Chav Zayin Omid Aleph that tells us if we done other people lekaf zchus, the Rebbeinu Shalom is done up lekaf zchus, which is an amazing thing. Now there's an interesting Gemara where the Gemara tells us in Shabbos Tzadi Zayin Omid Aleph, where the Gemara says, "Ha'choshed b'ksherim loike begufay." Okay, ha'choshed b'ksherim loike begufay. That means, if a person accuses someone righteous incorrectly, he will be punished physically. A lot of people have questions: why am I getting this illness? Why am I getting this problem? Chazal tell us sometimes. I'm not saying this is the reason, but this is one of the reasons. Chazal tell us, ha'choshed b'ksherim loike begufay. When Moshe Rabbeinu told the Rebbeinu Shalom that the Yidden would not believe him, when the Rebbeinu Shalom said, Moshe, go down to Mitzrayim, go take Klal Yisrael out of Egypt. What did Moshe Rabbeinu say? Moshe Rabbeinu said, they're not going to believe me. Moshe Rabbeinu was choshed b'ksherim on Klal Yisrael. And Hashem told him to put his hand into his robe, and he was punished with saras. He was punished with saras. When a person is choshed people b'gsherim, a person is choshed people that don't need to be suspected, and he unfortunately takes innocent people and judges them in an incorrect way, Chazal tell us you get a physical illness, whatever that may be. That's what Chazal tell us. A person also, Chazal tell us, will be also led to be in a stumbling block of an Aveira, which is an amazing thing, right? The Vilna Gaon says, an amazing Vilna Gaon in Keser Rosh Ois Kuf Yotes, that if a person has enemies, he should think in his heart that they are total tzaddikim and judge them favorably. Says the Vilna Gaon, that is the greatest skula for a person to love other people. I've heard this from people. Oh, how do I get to love him? I don't get on with him. He's my this, he's my that. He does this to me, he says this to me. I don't like him. How do I get to love people? Says the Vilna Gaon, incredible Eitzah, Keser Rosh. Think of these people, these are the greatest tzaddikim. We don't know. Someone struggles. We don't understand. You know, they always say over a story of a guy in yeshiva, they used to grab schnitzels. Whenever schnitzel came out, ooh, did he fight for it. And guys used to be like, oh, come on. What are you fighting for food? Calm down. There's always enough food. It's okay. You don't have to grab. And people are upset with him. Until they realized one thing. And they realized that this guy he grew up in a house of 11 children. He was one of 11. And 11 children, had 10 siblings, and him was 11 children. And his mother only made 10 schnitzels. So therefore, if he didn't grab, he would never get supper that night. So if you look at it in that perspective, it was like, oh, now I understand. Or let's say, for example, you walk onto a bus, and the bus driver starts screaming at you, and you're like, chutzpah, what are you? Hold on a second. Do you know how many hours this guy slept? Maybe at home something went terribly wrong, and his one of his children were diagnosed with a bad illness, and he's really tzibrochen about it, and he's going through a hard time. Yes, so he got a little bit angry. If somebody would have told you that, what would have happened then? Rabbi, so I want to end. Just we haven't got into the sugya, we haven't got into the halachas. But I just want to end with one incredible yesod, which you have to remember. Stephen Covey says this example, and he writes it in his incredible book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he writes the following thing that happened to him. And he said like this. He said he was on the subway. And he was on the subway minding his own business, reading the newspaper, and he was sitting there and everyone was quiet and people were, everyone was good. People were way back from work and wanted to relax a little bit, And a guy walked onto the subway with 3 young children. Okay. He walked on the subway with 3 young children, and these kids were hyper like anything. They were climbing the walls, they were going up, they were just driving everybody crazy. So in the beginning it was annoying everyone, right? Because everyone's looking up like, it was quiet in here, we were trying to relax after a hard day at work. What are you messing around for? So no one said anything. Because the father obviously of these children was like sitting there like sleeping in the chair. He wasn't even looking at his kids, after a few minutes it got annoying. And they were looking at this father like, hello, could you control your kids please? What is he doing? What's going on?